into the dark, it's time to rave.
All right, everybody. You guys are about to get a lot posted to make up for the time that I missed. But with great pride, I would love to introduce DJ Reek, somebody that I know personally, somebody that I can't wait to hear some passion from, some perception from, especially in the world of artistry and music. DJ Reek, how you doing today, my friend?
I'm good. How you doing?
Oh, I'm fantastic. I'm really excited. I really want to kick this off. Like, there's so many places I want to begin because you're a very interesting character. For those who don't know, I work with you on a day-to-day basis, and we have a lot of conversations, not just in the world of music, but personally. So if you don't mind me asking, I'd like to know, where did this passion for music come from? How did the DJ Reek we have today start?
Honestly, man, I'm gonna be honest with you. It started way back from my early childhood days, like growing up in Harlem, New York. You know what I'm saying? And like back in that time and era, like used to have block parties. And when they had block parties, it used to be the DJs that was always out there. So just seeing the music. And I mean, I've always been a fan of music ever since I was like 2. So like, and I'll tell you a funny story about that too. Like back when I was like 2, my mom has a tape of me singing Bobby Brown, Every Little Step I Take, and Michael Jackson, I'll Be There. So like, I can honestly say like, I've been around music all my whole life, just about. But as far as like where the DJ came from, like just growing up in music, whether if it was playing the drums when I was at church to just being around just DJs myself, and like basically how it started, like I was actually a host. And so one of the DJs here in the City Lounge, shout out to DJ CL, he was like, yo, you ever thought about DJing? I was like, nah, not really. He was like, yo, if you're going to do this, if you want like what you're doing, he was like, you might want to get into DJing. So one thing led to another. I went to Guitar Center, grabbed me a controller board, and I started at a club where there wasn't too many people there and just perfecting my craft. So, and after that, once I started building up to getting my name for myself, DJ Reek was born.
Was that here when you went to Guitar Center, or was that still in New York?
No, that was here.
Okay. About what age were you, or about what time or part of your life were you in when you moved here to the South?
I moved to Alabama in 97. So I left New York like 96, and I moved to Atlanta for a year. And then like around 97, 98, I moved to Alabama.
And before DJ CL, did you have like any inspirations, like any people you looked up to? Like any artists that you was like, man, I want to be like that when I grow up?
Honestly, nah, I really didn't. Just growing up in New York, you're gonna run across celebrities and people in the industry like that on a main basis. So I mean, whether if it was going to Rucker Park, going to basketball tournaments, you always ran into them. Like I remember a time when I was like in 96, I actually seen Biggie and Puffy at the stoplight. You know what I'm saying? Just riding through the city. So like seeing celebrities and artists like that that's in the industry major, like it was pretty much normal, especially growing up in New York.
Yeah, see, I'm glad you said that. That's why I asked, because my family's from the New Jersey, New York, and Boston area. They're all from up north. So I grew up here, but I've always heard so much about how strong the history, especially in hip hop, how strong the history of music is in New York. So I didn't get to be a part of that, but I'm glad you shared that, because I couldn't imagine that being just a normal everyday thing, especially, how it is here. Like it's completely different. And it's funny because I can see how that reflects in your craft. Now, with me being raised in a culture that I did, we knew right off the bat, the first time we heard you DJ, that something was very different. I will never forget. My mom looked at me. Out of all the events we have gone to in the 2 decades we've been here in the South, she was like, "This boy's different." She's like, "He's good." The music he was playing of all sorts of different varieties was phenomenal. I don't think people understand the power in your approach when you're DJing. So the way that you connected us, especially with an environment where so many people were, we had young, we had old, we had civilian, we had military, we had business, we had IT, like it was, and everybody was just bumping. And I want to make it very clear. The reason why I wanted you on this podcast is because you brought something unique to the table. And thank you for sharing that experience from the past, because I think that's very crucial that you were that you were around all of that even at such a young age. Now, was it always DJing, or did you ever try to be something like more like a lyrical artist, or a dancer, anything like that, or was it always DJing that had your interest?
It was always DJing that had my interest. Like I remember growing up and watching Def Comedy Jam, and I remember when
Oh,
that kid Capri was on there, you know what I mean? And how he just interacted with the crowds and just, like I said, just being at block parties in New York, whether if it was a regular block party or whether if it was the Jamaican Day Parade or the Spanish Harlem Parade, and just being around DJs and just hearing the different sounds and just being
mm-hmm.
able to bring everybody together as a collective.
Mm-hmm.
So that pretty much what caught my attention with it. Now I didn't pick it up until early on until I moved down here, but
Yeah,
it was
yeah,
totally different.
yeah, absolutely. Now, when you picked up the turntables for the first time, what were some challenges like that you can recollect at this moment? Like, were there certain things that you found a little harder to learn or overcome in order to be a DJ for the people, whether it was business or artistry or even the technical aspect of it?
I would say it was more so just being able to learn what everything did. Like being that first
Mm,
time in front of some turntables, not having nobody to coach me and guide me, and just being able to just seeing what everything do. It was more so the technical part. I mean, as far as music selection, I always knew what songs to play just by playing the songs that was hot.
hmm.
Another thing was just learning how to just read your crowd. I mean, that's pretty much the main thing when it comes to DJs and DJing, is just knowing how to read your crowd. Like you got to know how to cater to everybody,
Right.
that, regardless of the demographic, regardless of the age range, and just being able to bring it all together as one. And my thing was, if I get you on the dance floor, I got you. That's my motto. At any event that I do, if I get you on the dance floor, I got you.
Absolutely. Wow. Now, you said you were self-taught? You're self-taught?
You know, I'm self-taught.
No kidding. All right, so this will lead me into a next question for this, because that's very interesting. What are some things that you take? Oh, I'm sorry. What are some things that you think it takes for somebody to succeed in this industry? Whether they're self-taught, whether they have a coach. Like if somebody came to you and was like, DJ Reek, I want to be a DJ, and you saw potential in this person, what's one of the first things that you would tell them?
Practice, 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 and stay consistent at all times. I mean, because you have to stay consistent. You have to practice with everything that you do, as far as
Mhm.
like, especially when it comes to DJing, learning new music, and not just listen to one genre of music, but listen to all music: pop, alternative, heavy metal, rock and roll, jazz, blues, hip hop, R&B,
Mhm.
Afrobeat, soca, Latin. Like you definitely have to listen to everything. You can't just say, "Oh, I listen to R&B and Afro beats." No, you have to listen to exactly everything, every genre across the board,
Mhm.
because you just never know when that time was called. Where you might have to do a quinceañera, but you don't have no Latin music. You know what I
Right.
mean? So you have to learn how to be diverse.
Right. And actually that's one of the first things that pointed out to us when we heard you DJ was how diverse you were. Because before then I felt like with every event I've gone to, I felt like I've heard the same songs here being repeated over and over again. And that's very powerful. And while it's easy to say as a statement, I don't think people understand just how serious the practice of that is. Like, do you feel like in your career as a DJ, it's also not necessarily changed you as a person, but added certain qualities to you as a person?
It has. It's definitely added a lot of qualities to me as a person, because I mean, at first, because like I said, in the city that we're in, it's pretty much literally over 80 to 90 DJs in the city. So, you know what I mean? Just being able to stand out. Like, that's why I said one thing you have to be is consistent.
Right.
Once you're consistent and people start knowing your name, and then you just have to build on your brand. Like, once you build your brand, you have people noticing you, you have people following you, and then, I mean, you just got to keep it consistent. So that's when you pretty much protect your brand. And I mean, because you don't never want to mess up your brand. regardless of anything that you do.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And as a matter of fact, I'm learning, like always, I'm learning a little bit from this conversation myself. Because I'm a young person. I don't know if you consider a podcast as art, but this is my brand, and I'm learning that there's certain ways of going about it. And now, speaking of brand, speaking of consistency, speaking of diversity, and all these phenomenal things, we had a conversation with a friend earlier, and it really made me think, because I felt the same way. But hearing your input on it kind of made me wonder a little bit. With the city that we are in, I think it's very common for people who come from different areas to say something like, well, this isn't really much of a party city. Like, this city doesn't really know what's going on. But you, as a DJ, and a DJ with the mindset that you have, are seeing inner workings that normal people usually don't see. So can you kind of speak a little bit about on that? Can you kind of speak a little bit on that? Like, getting into places and finding opportunity where, to the regular person, it may not seem like it even exists.
Yeah, definitely. Like, I mean, it's just so many places that's out here in the city. Like, you just have to you really have to be out to know or just hear things that's going on. Plus, I mean, social media has a lot to do with it too as well, because now it's not more so word of mouth. You can hear word of mouth, but most of the time we're in that pretty much time where everything is on social media. Well, if you want to see what's going on in the city, what restaurants is going on, who's coming into town, like, and you'll be surprised when you really sit back thinking from the time that I've been here from in 2004 until now, the city has grown so much. So it's always something to do. You can never say, oh, well, there's not nothing to do here in the city, because there's always something to do. Well, if it's going to brunches on Sundays, or going to a karaoke night, or going to a wine tasting, like, it's so many things. Plus, with the amphitheater that we have here, like, you always have major artists that's coming through the city on a week to week basis. So it just all depends.
Right.
Whatever the type of crowd that you're trying to be around or where you're trying to go. But it's always something to do.
Man, so with all this opportunity that you're seeing in the city, do you ever find yourself in a situation where maybe you're feeling like some level of nervousness, or maybe some emotion of maybe not wanting to be in a certain environment that you've been hired to do, but like you're not sure how it's gonna go? Like, for example, let's say it's a Latin environment, and this is just an example, but that night either you don't know if you're prepared enough, or because they're a different culture. So, like,
Right.
with all these different cultures coming into the city, are you finding difficulties adapting, especially during certain times? Because we are in some weird times, but like certain times throughout modern society.
Yeah. Actually, no. I definitely remember a time where I pretty much had to DJ a grand opening for an esthetician spot. So, I mean, and this was like in Gunnersville, Alabama. So basically, I didn't know nobody from Gunnersville. I think I've been to Gunnersville probably once or twice, but just going out there. And so the demographic, I'm knowing that, hey, it's an esthetician spot. So you definitely want to play songs that you would normally hear on certain radio stations. So not too much of hip hop, play a little bit of hip hop, play some pop, play a little bit of R&B, and just know how to navigate to which artist to cater to everybody, because you don't want nobody to feel uncomfortable regardless of the situation or regardless of the event. So just knowing, like I said, just knowing music. Like, you have to know music. You can't just say, hey, I'm just a club DJ, or I'm just a party DJ, or a wedding DJ. You have to be a DJ all the way around.
And do you feel like that's pretty well practiced in the community of DJs that you're a part of?
Absolutely. Definitely.
That is amazing. Now, well, no, I think that's some gold advice right there. And I think, and I say this a lot because I feel like a lot of these things sound like they could be very simple or common sense. But it's quite surprising when there are people that literally don't know that there are certain ways of looking at things, certain ways of approaching things. Especially, here, growing up here, like you said, it's gotten a lot more diverse. But at one point, I remember people didn't even know that there was more than 3 different types of ethnicities that existed. And actually, I want to ask about that. I didn't think about it before, but I want to ask about that. Now, how do you feel about the cultural differences and the upbeat and diversity that has happened? Has that helped your business?
It actually has. Like I pretty much said earlier, like I pretty much DJ for anything that's available, whether it's weddings, whether it's birthday parties, baby showers, grand openings. And so that's why I said, as far as your brand is concerned, once you build your brand, you just have to continue to be consistent at all times. Like you have to be consistent. You have to be consistent. Pretty much tap into whatever that you can just to
Mhm.
get your name out there because even though the city that we're in is big, but it's also small.
Right.
So, for example, I know, oh, I DJ'd a wedding this weekend, Saturday, and it was crazy that the lady who was officiating the wedding, I know her personally, and I referred a friend of mine who was a celebrity makeup artist to the bride. So, you know what I mean? Just saying how everybody networks together, but you would have never known that if you were just not knowing, if I didn't come out and explain it, or you didn't know that we are all well connected. So, like I said, the city is big, but the city is also small. And it's not knowing a lot of people, but knowing the right people.
Mm, mm. That's sheesh. That's
Yeah, so
deep,
that's pretty much like the biggest thing.
man. And you know what? That's a beautiful perception. You know, I never thought about how that could apply to something like the industry, especially the music industry here. Because from my experience, you know, we've always said, oh, you know, it's a big, small, big world, big, small world. And you know, when I joined the military, it was, oh well, it's a very small army because you know everybody knows something about somebody. But you know what? You're right. That doesn't just apply to like your day job or whatever organization you're a part of. That's it's everything. Like
Yeah,
you said, you was rolling down the street in New York and you saw Puff Daddy and Biggie. Like
yeah. So
it's amazing. We're in this big world, but we're all connected. And that's why I wanted you on here because music, man, I'm not gonna preach on this because this isn't about me, but I want to know music. Do you feel like music is like a is it a spiritual thing? Is it like this magic that connects us? Like when you think about music and what you do, like how do you feel that power within you to bring people together?
honestly, it's crazy that you mentioned that. I mean, because I always look at like music always brings everybody together. Like
Mm-hmm.
music has the mindset to you can be feeling down and out, and you might just hear that one song that might just change your whole perspective. You might have that one song or that one lyric in that verse and be like, I felt that. And so just by being a DJ, and when you be able to bring everybody together and you play that one song or that one verse and everybody just sings along with it, that's just like to me, for me, that's like the greatest feeling ever because you know you can feel like, yeah, I touched that person. I made that person change their mindset. And with everything that's going on in the world right now and people having personal issues or whatever issue they're going through, music can always bring them back to that center place and be like, okay, I'm cool now.
Yeah,
Because you just never know.
absolutely, absolutely. And that actually brings us into another topic I want to talk to you about because I remember you had introduced a vision board to me. But before I get into the vision board, I do want to ask what what kind of impact, like when you picture DJ Reek as the most accomplished form, like you've reached your goals and you've done what you set out to do. What kind of impact do you picture yourself leaving in this world? Like when you think about a third person thinking about DJ Reek, what do you see? Like, do you see that as the connector, as the life of the party? And what's that like to you?
Honestly, I would say for me, just the impact, just being consistent, staying true to yourself, and don't never let nobody convince you or deter you from your dreams. Just to keep going. Like for prime example, it's a song from Young Dolph, and it's a part in the it's a verse in there where he says, "Stay focused." So just staying focused and being consistent, and staying true to yourself and being passionate about whatever you do. That's like the biggest impact I would say I want to leave. It is definitely staying true to yourself and being finding that point to where you can say, you know what, this is what I'm here to do. I'm going to keep doing this. Don't let nobody tell you different. Don't let nobody try to talk your dreams down. Don't let nobody try to deter you from whatever you're trying to do, and just stay consistent.
I love it. I love to hear it. I freaking love to hear it. That's why I wanted you on this podcast. Because like I mentioned earlier, we work together. And it's funny because I'll go to your section just saying something, either complaining about something, wondering about something, and you always give some of the realest advice. And sometimes it's not even something that feels comfortable for me to hear, because then I have to admit that I'm losing track of what I'm doing, and we don't always want to feel that way. But when you do share that advice, it really makes me think. Like, I made a vision board. I never made a vision board before. And it's funny because when I put it on the lock screen of my phone, I'm reminded every day, and I'm like, oh, you got to get it together. Like, this isn't you. This isn't the life that you want to live. And it's uncomfortable, but fun, but adventurous. But you're definitely leaving an impact. And thank you for sharing that on the platform, because I want more people to hear that from you. Like, you are leading by example. And I think whether you feel like it there or not, you're definitely headed in that direction.
I appreciate it, man. But yeah, that one thing, like I said, like a friend of mine, he was like, man, you ever thought about doing a vision board? And I was like, nah. He was like, man, I'm telling you, it'll do something to you, and just stay consistent. Whatever it is on your vision board, if it's pretty much whatever your goals or aspirations are, put it on your vision board, and just look at it every day. It's going to remind you. And then every time you complete something on your vision board, you add something else, and just keep going. And that keeps you motivated, that keeps you centered, that keeps you just staying focused. Because in this world, a lot of things can throw you off track, but you got to stay consistent. You got to stay focused.
Yeah. And you exemplify that every day, because one of the things I've noticed about you is, and we've had this conversation. You have a quote. Now, I'm not going to say it because it's not the same as when it comes from you. But when I have the conversation about being tired and asking about, when I say I don't have enough time to do something for my podcast because I got to study or something, you always say that if you take it away, DJ Reek, take it away.
If you stay ready, you ain't got to worry about getting ready.
Stay ready, making time. And it's, and, believe it or not, I feel like those are things, either I've heard it before and I wasn't ready to hear it in my life, or I didn't hear it before and it resonated with me. But like now, we could go to sleep. We could go play a video game, do something. But we're here, we're selling a brand, we're doing an interview. And when you say, if you stay ready, make time, it's powerful. That stuff is powerful. And these vision boards, they're constantly reminding us that we're the only ones that can make these things happen.
Yeah.
And when you see the stuff written out in a vision board, it almost becomes a part of you, where you're like, if that doesn't happen in my life, it's completely my fault. So then it's like, it's like when you're at work, you feel like you're responsible for the good and the bad that happens when something's assigned to you. Well, this is assigned to us.
Absolutely.
As artists, is everything. So, I'm saying all this because I really kind of want to show how much you have spoken to me, and I appreciate that. And I appreciate you coming out here. So one of the things I want to ask, well, we got to see, your perception and get a piece of this mindset from you as an artist and as a person. Do you have anything that keeps you grounded when you find yourself in those positions where you're like, man, I just don't feel like doing it today? Like, what keeps DJ Reek going? How do you keep this level of discipline and consistency?
My son.
Mm-hmm.
My son, and because at the end of the day, he looks at me like, oh, dad keeps going. So as long as he's seen his eyes and he watches everything that I do, so of course that's going to resonate with him. He's going to always have that mindset. Well, my dad was a go-getter. My dad was going hard. My dad was doing this. My dad was doing that. He always made time for me, so he's always going to do this. So without him seeing me doing that as he grows up, then he's going to have those same mindset.
Oh, I love.
So my thing is like, for him, just plan out the blueprint to where once he get above age, he's good to go.
Right.
He's only 5 right now, so just imagine in the next 10 years where he'll be mentally.
Right. Man, that's. Sorry, I'm a little speechless. I wasn't ready for that one.
Yeah. So that's pretty much what keeps me going. Like it was another thing that keeps me going. It's it's not a meme, but it's something that is like an audio that always comes on Instagram and TikTok. It was like, I am the backup. There's nobody else. So I got to keep going. I got to be the motivator. I got to keep going. Yeah, I might be tired, but I got to keep going. You hear people saying, oh, you need to get you some rest. You need to do this. You need to do that. I mean, at the end of the day, if I don't do it, who else will? So I sacrifice that. So you definitely, like I said, you just got to stay motivated, stay consistent, keep God first, and just always keep doing what you do.
And you know what? I'm gonna vouch for you here because everything that you just preached, you exemplify. I know because I was one of those people that was like, "Hey man, you you gotta get some rest." You be like, "No, no," and I'm like, "This joke is crazy, man." And you know what? I feel that. I feel that a lot. Well, you had mentioned your son. Well, I don't have any kids, and I feel like my and maybe it's not my generation, maybe it's just the area I'm around, but I feel like younger people nowadays aren't. It's not as big to like have a kid, in this moment at 23, blah blah blah. Uh, so that's some magic, bro. That's that's amazing. I love to see it, and I think has he shown an interest in DJing?
Oh yeah, he already calls himself a DJ. Even
What?
when I pick him up from after school, his teacher would be like, "Hey, DJ Reek 2.0 is coming to the front."
No,
He tells his teachers he's a DJ. So
I love it. I
yeah,
love it, man. I look forward to seeing him in concert soon. I do.
yeah. And soon, I mean, once he gets old enough, I told his principal, I said, before he leaves elementary school, he's probably going to DJ the field day. And he's going to be good at it.
Love it. I love it. Man, that's beautiful. I'm I'm glad you're doing that.
Yeah.
That's a wonderful example. Hustling, family man, artistry. I think this is a great example of how there really are many beautiful aspects to life, whether you find it in music, whether you find it in family, whether you find it in dance, art, writing, whatever. Um, I think it's more important that people have these conversations and that these are the things that we're paying more attention to because you see it, with the environment that we're usually around for the third of our day, Monday through Friday, is a lot of these things are highly overlooked because we're too busy paying attention to what's going on the news or what this person said, and honestly, things that really don't have to do with their direct lives. We worry so much about things that aren't connecting with us, like music and art and writing. I appreciate that personally. I really do. Thank you for coming out.
No
It
problem.
means the world to me. And I have a couple more questions for closing because I feel like you brought some power, and thank you. Uh, Now you mentioned your son, but one of the things I like to ask my guests is if you could go back to your younger self and give yourself any advice, knowing what you know now, what would that be?
Whew. That's a good one. What would I tell my younger self?
Mhm.
Knowing what I know right now. It's so many things. Uh, Stay true to yourself, and like I said, don't shy away from the opportunity. Don't never shy away from any opportunity that you may come across. I mean, you have opportunities all the time. Sometimes you might just say, "Hey, no, I'm not going to do that," or somebody that's in your ear like, "Oh man, I don't think you should do that. That's not
Right.
looking look." But I mean, just staying true to yourself and just following your heart and your dreams. I mean, like I said, prime example. I've only been DJing for 6 years now. Like, and I sit back and I think if I would have started DJing back when I was in high school,
Very dangerous place to head. Like very
you
dangerous.
know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, if I was in high
Tough.
school DJing, graduating, going off to college, and still DJing, where would I be right now? But I mean, like I said, your journey is your journey, your path is your path. And as long as you stay consistent and stay focused, things can happen overnight.
Absolutely. And you know what? There's some validity to that. You know, there's a lot of things that's defined in different ways, like law of attraction, manifestation, all that good stuff, faith. You know, I truly do believe that when you put your mind and your heart into everything that you do, and you don't let anybody hold you back, especially like, you know, other people, as hard as it's gonna be, I don't foresee how you could go wrong. I mean, it is difficult. You know, it's very like it's in many cases it's life or death.
Yeah.
But that's just the risk. We talked about that one time, risk. You know, that's just a risk that somebody has to be willing to take. And it's hard, you know, going against the grain. Because I'm sure you've had a lot of people in your ear saying, no, that ain't right. No, don't do that. No, don't do it this way. No.
Yeah, I have. But but you, like I said, you definitely have to have a strong support system. Like I said, I got two of the best mentors that can pretty much, hey, you can't go wrong. I mean, shout out to Mark Patton, shout out to DJ Primetime 256. Like those guys there are pretty much, they're pretty much going to keep you on the right path. Especially, I mean, they know it. They've been in the game for 10, 20 years. So, I mean, they already see just the path that you're going. So as long as you stay consistent and stay focused and you got a solid team around you, nothing can go wrong.
Absolutely. You know what? I'm gonna go ahead and follow those two DJs on the social media. And if it's all right with them, I think I'll go ahead and tag their Instagrams in the bio, which is the very last thing I want to ask. Do you have any future plans? Well, you already did the shout out, so I think we're good. But do you have any future plans, anything going on in DJ Reek's world that you want to share? And if you don't mind, I would also like to tag your stuff in the bio as well. So if anybody wants to reach you, they know they have your email and your social medias.
Yeah. Nothing. I don't have nothing major right now. I have one that I can't speak on just yet.
Ooh, okay. Okay.
In September. So I do have that. But other than that, I mean, I'm at fourth quarter revamp, 1010 Heathland Drive, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So I mean, that's where they can find me. I'm on Instagram, DJ Reek 256. I'm on Snapchat at Reek at -84. So I mean,
it wouldn't be a Snapchat if it didn't have the dash, right?
Right. They wouldn't let me put the whole thing. So, but
right.
you know.
Man, well, DJ Reek, thank you for coming out. Wonderful message. Thank you for sharing so much about your perception that you did. I love seeing you perform. I love seeing your work. And honestly, I just love talking to you. So thank you for sharing that with my audience. I know my audience is going to appreciate this as well. And by the way, I'm gonna put this as a side note, like off the record. I do edit, so like a lot of my ums and like pauses, I cut that shit.
Oh, you good. You good.
Cool.
I appreciate you having me.
No, it was my pleasure, DJ Reek. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, ETVT out.
ETVT coming from the heart. Hot waves crash like a tidal wave. Jump into the dark, it's time to rave.